Welcome back to Enlighten Up for episode 80, QHHT, Shamanism, and Perceived Happiness in Partnership with Elissa Stevens. Elissa is a listener of our show, and she's also a practitioner of QHHT. So she's come on to share with all of you what that actually is and how she got involved with QHHT. How did she heal herself and her psoriasis? We're going to talk about her healing journey as well as what happened when she discussed it with doctors. We're going to talk about shamanism and what that actually is and what are some of the tools that you can use of shamanism. We're also later on in the show going to talk about partnership and how there is this idea or belief, the perceived happiness when you're in partnership and how that relates to your own life. We're going to talk all about that as well as the event and why Elissa believes the event is ongoing. So without further ado, let's jump right into the episode and find out what Elissa has to share with us. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Enlighten Up. We are happy to be back with you. And today we have a really fun show because we actually have one of our listeners joining us today who is a fantastic healer. She wrote into us after our hypnosis episode where all three of us, Lisa, Brian, and myself, went under hypnosis with Nori Love because I made the mistake of mentioning that it might be QHHT. It was my bad. I did not mean to mislead anyone. But Elissa is actually here to share with us some information about QHHT, shamanism, Reiki, and her own healing journey with doctors and how that turned out. Elissa has encountered many teachers over the time, and she's received her training in the shamanic studies, Reiki, quantum healing, hypnosis, and she has a connection to crystals. So we're excited to hear from you. Elissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You are happy to have you on.
And
thanks for writing into us.
Yes, and thank you for making that mistake. See? Good things. Good things.
It's all divine. Yeah, all
Absolutely.
Good things. So, I guess with, why don't we start so we can clear this all up for any of our listeners and any of us and Brian. What is the difference between hypnosis and QHHT?
Okay. Well, quantum healing hypnosis technique is a type of hypnosis technique. It takes you to the deepest state of trance, which is the theta state, which is where the pictures and the memories are kept. And we use a induction to get yourself to a point where you're deep enough to experience these past life experiences. And then we call in the what Dolores Cannon, the creator of this process, called she called it the subconscious. Some people call it the oversoul or the higher self. And so it is a type of hypnosis. It's just that it kind of, it's not just taking you to past lives. It also helps you to actualize your connection to the higher self. And then you bring through that aspect of you, and then you answer your own questions. And who better to answer your own questions than yourself?
And a QHHT session lasts pretty long, doesn't it?
Yeah, my full sessions can run 4 to 5 hours. We don't keep you hypnotized. We keep you hypnotized for up to 2 hours.
Wow.
Yep.
I would love to hear your session, Nicole, of a QHHT.
Oh, God.
You can write a book, probably.
Yeah, I don't know about that. So, well, what got you into QHHT then? Like, how did the life journey steer you that way?
Well, it's been a long, strange trip. I've always been kind of witchy, but I guess you get into life and you kind of fall out of things. And I became a mom in 2008, and I kind of found myself wanting to do better, or, I don't know, I believe in a creator, but I didn't really do church. So it kind of put me on this spiritual seeking path. And over the course of a few years, different things happened. I had my own personal awakening experience. And that led me to shamanic work. And I spoke to my shamanic mentor. Her name's Jean Tragy. And she said I could mention her name today. She put out a call, and she started doing these retreats, and she put out a call to gather the pavers. And this is actually something that's referenced in a Dolores Cannon book, like Pavers of the Way. And that's how I found my way to shamanism. And I actually found my way to this tribe of amazing people in northern Minnesota. And she works with the star ancestors. We work with the earth ancestors, when you think of Aboriginal shamanic type of sense, but we also work with our galactic ancestors. And Dolores Cannon's work folds into that. And it was kind of presented to me through these retreats. And finally, this little, she was like a little old grandma. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to listen to this little old lady. What's she going to have to say? And I started listening to one of her podcasts one day. And I was like, oh, this resonates. And then the podcast cut off at 15 minutes and wouldn't let me listen any farther. So then I had to go do the research and dig around, and I got into it. And and then I decided this is where I wanted to go with it. I had some experience with self-hypnosis in the beginning of my journey. I used a book called How to Hypnotize Yourself with Your Eyes Open. So I was kind of familiar, and I like to read, and I like to read aloud and sing and things like that. So I kind of felt like I had a voice for it too. So yeah. And so I took the training in 2015 on my birthday, on my 37th birthday was the first day of training. And then I had a session there, and I also had a second session in June of that year. And then I took level 2 training for quantum healing hypnosis in 2016 in the summer. So yeah, it's been an interesting trip for sure. And lots of cool things have happened on the way.
So help me understand. I understand how you described the quantum healing hypnosis technique, mm-hmm. but I don't understand how it's different than regular hypnosis. Is the process different? Do you go through a different set of steps to get the person into that theta state? Because when we were doing our hypnosis sessions with Nori Love, she talked about being in the theta state. So I don't understand the difference.
Okay, well, it's maybe not necessarily the difference. Maybe we didn't quite word that the right way. No, I guess it's taking you to the deepest state of trance. I guess it wasn't necessarily saying that what Nori was doing wasn't theta state. It just was not QHHT. And yeah, I guess the only thing that I've noticed is like what Dolores did. She was she's very particular in making sure that this is the life that is the most important life, the life you're living now. And it's really expressed throughout the script, throughout the induction, and when you're coming out, that this is the most important life, and that those are just past lives that we're viewing to bring forward for clarity in this present moment.
You have a lot of prep work that you require your clients to do before any QHHT session, right?
Well, I just like them to come in with an idea of where they'd like to go with it. We like to have the list of questions. Basically, you come in with a list of questions for your higher self. And we like the client to come in with that list of questions written down so that after we go through the hypnosis part, that's where it's different, is we go through the hypnosis part, you go through and you have the past life experiences. Where it becomes different is at the end, then we ask permission to bring through the higher self, bring through the subconscious, as Dolores called it. And then we ask your subconscious mind your questions, and then that's where the healing and the clarity and information can come through for a multitude of levels for the client.
So when people are when they're under, are
mm-hmm.
they completely out, or are they still conscious of what's going on? Or is it a mix?
You're quite conscious. That's called the somnambulistic state. I think I said that right. Dolores experienced that, where people would go under and they're completely out and they don't remember anything. I myself work with a lot of people who are already on a spiritual path or have some sense of their own conscious awareness. And so I really don't get a lot of people who don't remember a thing. Most people remember what happened. However, we find that it starts to fade quite quickly afterwards, which is why we record the session. And so that's another place where the session differentiates, is that after we're done, you receive a recorded copy of your session, and all of the healing and all of that energy of your session is in there. And what we ask the client to do is then listen to it. It's like, I've given you the tool. Now it's up to you to do with it as you choose. And every time you listen to the session, it becomes part and more integrated into your conscious reality. And that's where the healing comes through.
I know Brian was wanting to say something. Brian?
He did want to say something. You must have forgot what it was.
It's very rare that Brian is silent.
I know that.
What it reminds me of is the process that I went through twice for my Akashic Records reading. That's what it, without being hypnotized, but becoming prepared and having questions, to ask your higher self.
Well, exactly. And I guess really Akashic Records or having a chat with the higher self, it's like really a common thread runs through it. And if that's, I guess, like you said, if that's and if that's where your perception level lies, you could be hypnotized and actually have that experience. So like I said, it's cool because everyone's process is different. So this really forms to your own personal process.
What has been some of the healing that you've witnessed with either yourself or with your clients through this?
Okay, well, we'll talk about my own personal healing journey. I wanted to share this morning that I shaved my legs for this. And the joke is I laughed at myself because I'm like, this is audio. Why did I shave my legs for this? And,
and why did you tell us?
Okay, because I had psoriasis. I've dealt with psoriasis for nearly 20 years. In 1996, I was diagnosed with psoriasis, which is a skin disorder, problem with the immune system. And at one time, it was quite dangerous to shave my legs because my arms and legs were like 75% covered with these dry, red, lesions, essentially, that happen when your immune system is overreactive and causes the psoriasis to occur on the surface of the skin. So it's like, even though it's like, it was a reminder about how far I've come and about what I've done with my healing. So, and I started this healing journey, like I said, I was kind of on the path to try and figure out something natural with psoriasis. And then where it really started to help come through was through the energy work. And, through my quantum healing session, it basically helped me to get right with my life and make steps forward that I wasn't sure, where I wasn't sure to make adjustments in my life. And even though sometimes people doubted what I was doing or seemed alarmed, all the way through, my skin just kept getting better and better and better. And until a point where I don't have psoriasis anymore.
So did you seek out QHHT for yourself, or did you seek it out to practice it?
I was already on the shamanic path when it was presented to me. And it was kind of like, well, if something's going to heal me, it's going to be this. And if it doesn't, well, then I'll just get used to having psoriasis, But I kind of felt like I can't really be a legit healer if I can't heal myself. So, it kind of, the two journeys kind of, they kind of came together as one,
Well, your psoriasis journey is really interesting in a sense of how the doctors handled it and what their approach was for you.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll go back. Like I said, it was 20 years. In 2005, I, got married, got in some good health insurance. So I started taking Humira, which is a biologic that you inject biweekly. And I had like 100% clearing on that. And I was on and off of that for quite a few years, even while having children. I would go off of it when I was pregnant and I'd go back on it just as soon as I can, and then I quit smoking. And I kind of thought, well, basically I didn't have psoriasis until I became a smoker. And I wondered, if I wasn't a smoker, if maybe it would be better to just, I just thought like, maybe I'll just try and see how bad my skin really is now. And so when I went into the doctor and presented this idea to her, she was very unkind to me. And, used a lot of fear factors. First, they said my skin would get 3 times as bad as it ever was. And then I said, well, then I can just go back on the medicine. And they said, well, your insurance might not cover it because they won't understand why you quit. And I'm like, okay. So by this time I'm, in tears in the dermatologist's office, and the doctor, I finally just said, I have children and I don't know what this drug could do to me. Also, prior to that, an acquaintance of mine and my ex-husband's, she had taken Humira for 6 months for rheumatoid arthritis, and she was full of cancer. And, they'll neither confirm nor deny, but if you read the insides of those packages for those biologics, it's pretty scary. And I also found out later, too, the sinus problem that I'd been having for years was most likely being caused by those meds as well. And so I left that day and I told the doctor, I'm like, well, can I just try for 3 months without it and then we'll see? And she's like, sure, go ahead. And I walked out that day and I made an appointment, but I never went back. And I'm okay with that and I don't even feel necessary to go back into that dermatologist's office and show her what happened, although sometimes I'd like to.
Yeah.
So yeah, that happened. And it's like, I still believe in doctors. If you break something or, you got like bleeding or something that you can't stop, doctors are important, but it's also okay to be open to other ideas. And then, the other thing is I say that I'm 100% clear is this past spring, I had some stressful times and I actually broke out all over again back in May. And I was like right back to where I was. I was right back to the beginning. And I decided it was like, first I was like, I just stopped taking everything, like all my supplements and everything, because I couldn't tell if something had flared it up, or I mostly knew it was stress though. And then I made the conscious decision to just heal this with energy. And I did. I just went into a good space. I forgave myself. I forgave myself for not being able to forgive the people I was struggling with. I made space around it and it just started to heal. And so now I can even say, well, what happens when it all comes back? It's like, apparently I'll just use my energy and heal it again. So that's the really cool part.
It's like it's a reminder for you.
Yeah. Yep. And, and I've heard other people say too, healing happens in levels and layers, and I just stumbled upon a layer I hadn't that I needed to work with, and I worked with it and now it's better. So it's an amazing testament to what the human body can do.
What did you find through the QHHT that you think gave you relief? Like that actually helped to heal it? I mean, not to get too personal, but what type of things do people generally uncover in these sessions that help with these like illnesses and things like that?
Okay. Well, I could say that the one thing I see amongst clients is a lot of people really struggle with loving themselves and their self-worth, and I think it speaks a lot to a lot of illnesses and dis-ease in the system. It's like disease manifests in the body, but it starts way out in the emotional fields. And what I discover with a lot of my clients is that they're struggling with loving themselves or they're living lives that aren't theirs. And, it's a lot of times just helping people make peace with the moment and where they are, and that self-care and self-love is not selfish. Self-first is not selfish. And that's what I see a lot. And for me, I was in a situation where I was living a life that wasn't entirely my own. And I had to make some decisions and change some things. And I got a divorce. And, I'm okay with that. It's not the end of the world. I'm in a good place. And, but it was just the matter of we have all these cycles to break. And a lot of times what I'm seeing is it's people trying to break out of cycles or habits. And miraculous things happen when you do that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you said that mainly I would think people are living lives that aren't their own, and how easy that is for us to do with all I like to just simplify it and call it programming, just what we are taught to believe what we should be doing. And we all fall into this trap of going in this direction of where we think we should be going, whether it's to college or to get married and have babies or what, do what our parents did or what other people expect of us, or, and once we realize that we're not living for ourselves, usually divorce happens.
That's a magic pill for so many people I know.
Yeah, I mean, and I came from a family where, like, it's not a bad thing, but it just wasn't something that was done, and that's a lot of it. Like, I grew up in the Midwest, so, you have a lot of respect for your family and home. So you want to, do well and feel like, that you've done well for yourself because these people helped to raise you. And it's okay to define doing well for yourself and not for other people. And I think that's where a lot of people have just gotten off track, is they're just not, that it's not, our parents are the people who raised us. They mean well, and their lives are good. And now it's our turn to, reciprocate and live our lives well. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be done just the way that they did it. And it's okay.
Yeah, there's got to be some level of evolution happening, which requires change and requires doing things a little differently.
And a lot of people aren't living in the moment either. That's the other thing. It's like living in the present moment. It's like self-love and living in the now. It's like we can't go in the back. It's like that's like with quantum healing hypnosis. It's like we can go back and we can take a look at the past, but we're not going to bring it forward and let it bother us anymore because it's in the past and that's where it stays. And, the future hasn't happened yet. So, but we're really,
or it has.
Or it has, or it's all happening at the same time. I always say it's like past life hypnosis should be multidimensional timeline integration, but that's too long to put on a business card.
But it might be more accurate.
Mm-hmm. True story. So,
well, speaking of healing, I really want to hear your take on your experience with people and how they believe QHHT is this magic pill. Because I remember, Lisa and I both watch Alison Coe, who I believe did you study with her or?
We took our level 1 training together and we swapped sessions. She's the person I gave her a session and she gave me a session in June of 2015. Yeah. I was out in Portland.
Yeah. So Lisa and I love watching her videos and all of that. And I think I can't remember if I saw this posting on one of her videos or it was someone who had posted on one of my YouTube videos, but they were explaining to me that QHHT is the only way you can truly connect with your higher self. And I just thought, wow, how disempowering is that statement, that you need some sort of process other than like just you and your connection. Not that I don't think that it can't be helpful, but to think that that's the only way to connect. I just thought it was a really interesting comment to leave.
Those are, when I hear stuff like that, it especially, well, I mean, in almost any field, it doesn't matter what the field is. It's to make money. The only reason you would say, hey, this is the only way to do it, and I practice this, is to make money.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Right. And, really with QHHT, they're very rigid about that this particular process is QHHT, but I don't believe that in any way that anyone that is associated with the process would say it's the only way. And furthermore, like I say, I'm not connecting you to your higher self. We're always connected to our higher self. This is just one tool to help you actualize that you are connected to the higher self. But, like I said, I'm a shaman. I'm a shamanic practitioner first. And so really what QHHT for me is just another tool to get you to where you need to go. And you can use shamanic journey work to get to that place. You can use meditation. You can use chanting. Yeah, I think that's unfortunate if someone made that statement because it's by no means the only way, but it's a very useful and powerful way. And, I always tell people, the other thing about QHHT is I don't ever want to see clients back. I don't want to see you again. Like, I don't let people come back right away. Like, oh, I think I need another session. It's like, no, if your session was complete and good, you should take that recording and use it. And I've been told by a few people, that's not really the way to make money because, how are you going to get return business? And, I aim to work myself out of a job in this lifetime.
That's a great statement.
If everybody's happy and loves themselves, well then, my work here is done.
Well, you've got a lot of work ahead of you.
I'm only one person. I can only do
so I've obviously heard the word shaman. Can you help me understand more specifically, or
sure, like
what a shaman is? Yeah, what it means.
Okay, well, I feel like the shaman uses an altered state. We go to the shaman uses things like drum beats to achieve that theta state, or even trance dancing, which is where you dance blindfolded, for like 45 minutes, and to get to that altered theta state to receive the pictures and the messages. That's the state that the shaman works in, is this theta state. And so for me, QHHT is a tool that gets my client to that shamanic state. And we use these altered states to perceive and interact with the spirit world. And I guess for myself, I acknowledge that there's a spirit in everything. And that the earth is the earth is not just a thing that we live on, that it's an actual being. And it's through that reverence with the planet, and then also with the heavens, that I it's really a sacred path is what it is. It's not, it's not a tool, it's a lifestyle. Shamanism. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
I had a question and then it just left me.
Was it about shamanism?
Good, then we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Was it about dancing with a blindfold on? Because that sounds dangerous.
Oh, we have someone that keeps an eye on us and rounds us up, and so that we don't run into each other and stuff.
Especially if there's a fire around.
I know, like maybe out on the beach.
No, we usually do that inside where there's no fire.
What sort of practices do you work with in your shamanism? Like, what are your favorite tools other than QHHT?
Well, journey work is a very useful tool. I use that even just personally, and I use drum beats or even, meditative, things to travel with my, like when you do shamanic work, like we work with power animals, and it's like your spirit guide. So a lot of times when you do shamanic journey work, you'll journey with your power animal or another spirit guide of your choosing to receive, clarity and information on whatever it is you're seeking. So usually I start out with a statement of intent, and then I just lay back and listen to the drum beats and let it happen. And I've done that for clients. I can do that for clients, and then I can do that with clients.
How do people connect with their power animal, and how do they know which ones are more prevalent than others?
Well, like for me now, I took a shamanic journeying class. The shamanic work, in the deeper parts of shamanic work is, we always say we always ask things if they're of the light, and it can be pretty serious. But from a basic learning about your power animals, you can do a guided journey, or you could listen to drum beats and go there yourself. And really, you just ask your power animal to come forward, and usually the first one that comes forward is your main guide. Mine was a horse, but I've done other journey work with friends and with myself, and there's always seems to be a herd of them over there waiting for me. So.
Brian, what is your power animal? Which animal would be yours?
Never, ever has crossed my mind to think about my Power Ranger animal.
Go for it right now. Think of an animal and what comes.
A horse. A horse came to my mind.
I had a horse when I went through my Reiki, level 1 Reiki. A horse came to me.
I mean, I didn't think about it. It just, you said animal, and that's what popped into my mind. And you're going to say, higher self. And I'm going to say coincidence.
I'm going to say that's my power animal too, actually.
You could have said that just because Elissa had just mentioned that a horse was hers.
Yeah. I didn't hear her say that.
Or you picked up on it beforehand. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Who's your power animal?
It's not something that I think about. It's not something that I believe in, or, I don't commune with.
Some people like certain kinds of animals. Some people have certain kinds of decor. Is there any certain types of animal that, like, what's your favorite kind of animal?
I mean,
Birds?
we have cats. I like birds. I love fish.
See, it could be
Eating them or like swimming with
No,
them?
I used to have a reef aquarium, and I just loved, having shrimps and fish and watching them. I'm really, really, I don't know. I like animals. I mean, I think
Well, and if you like animals, then shamanism is a cool modality, or, a cool thing to explore, because it relates a lot to animals. We work with animals because animals are part of nature, so they're considered to be messengers of the earth.
Cats.
Meow.
Cats.
He likes cats.
See?
He's a cat whisperer.
Cats are good. Cats are good.
I like cats.
What's that?
They taste like chicken.
Lirin? Is that name?
Yes, Lirin. Exactly.
Lirin.
We both have some Lirin in us.
There you go. Cat people.
Really?
Lirin energy.
Lirin, yeah. I don't know how we got out on outer space here.
Because
Brian,
it's
how do you
enlighten
feel
up.
about having? How do you feel
I'm
about
usually in outer
having
space.
Lyran energy, Brian?
I like everything. I don't. That was an episode of that we did, and it was put into my mind, and it sits there, and I can remember it every time. I don't think about it. I don't think about, oh, I have Liran energy, or
You were speaking to your Liran friends a couple times. Didn't you have some?
That was my homework.
Oh, and
from that, and I take my my job seriously, so I'll experiment, and we had the supposed visitor, with Nemo, and I experimented with that, and that turned out to just be a bad light bulb, and
Oh gosh.
Well, I get what Brian's saying. Okay, so you're a Liran. Okay, so like what? That information is going to suddenly rule your whole life. We still have to be three-dimensional ish beings here on this planet. We still have these everyday jobs and lives and things we have to do, and it is, the information is wonderful, and I believe that all of these things are happening. But yeah, are you going to let it interfere with your life to the point where it bothers you? No, you can just acknowledge it and let it be. That's empowering in itself.
Do you have a QHHT session or point of reference where one of your clients or yourself, without like saying anyone's names, had such a profound healing experience or shift from that, and what it was like?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of my tribe mates, and her name is also Jean, and she wouldn't mind if I shared this because she's wrote about it on Facebook a couple of times. Basically, what I discover is if you have work to do and you come to me, you'll get information that will help guide you on your path to wherever the work is that you need to do, emotionally, physically, whatever, to find healing and clarity. Sometimes what happens is people come in and they've done the work, but the energy for some reason or another is lingering on. And this one particular client, my tribe mate, she'd always had this cold, like this pneumonia type of thing that would creep in every time the season would change, usually the beginning of the fall and then at the end of the winter. And every time we would meet up at the retreat, she'd be coughing and sneezing and hacking, and would have to just, had excused herself a few times from our shamany goodness because she wasn't feeling well. And she came in and got a session, and her higher self is like, oh, yeah, it's a green energy. It's hanging around in her lungs. It's kind of like slime. And I said, oh, well, is that serving her? And the higher self was like, no, it's not. I'm like, okay, can we get rid of it? And they're like, yep, it's gone. She has never used a rescue inhaler or had that happen to her since. And that's been 3 years ago in August. Like, it just stopped. And that's really cool. Like, that was like, she, the work, the issue had been resolved, but the energy was a hanger on. And once it was like, or for whatever, or however you want to perceive that, even if it was just simply the envisioning the mental picture and then releasing it, it caused a shift in her that she has not seen that kind of illness since.
So how does that differ than the work? Like, if you're conscious, I mean, not that she's not conscious of that, but, if you're someone on your own trying to, say she was trying to release the pneumonia, like what happened in your mind exactly to have that happen?
It's just, well, I think another friend of mine said, she goes, I guess I just didn't realize I could do it myself.
Interesting.
I'm just putting the power into the hands of the client instead of, I don't want to be your guru, like I'm just trying to take care of myself here. But if I can point you in the direction that helps you to help yourself, then, that's really what I'm here to do.
That's really interesting that it would just be the energy lingering. I mean, I can see where, so many people who are, awakened and on this journey are working on specific things themselves and trying to do things in a natural healing way or whatever. And, if it's just not going away, it's just sometimes just a little tweak. Like maybe you've done all the work, but you didn't clear the energy or.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And one friend said it, one of my other friends had some back troubles and she's like, yeah, I said, well, what caused it for you? Her back pain went away. And she's like, I guess I just didn't realize I could heal it myself. I'm like, she's like, that's really all you did is you just told me I had the power to heal myself. I'm like, yeah. And we all do.
I believe that. I believe it.
I know it. I see it. I live it.
That belief system has been taken out of our programming.
Right.
So
and that's a lot of it too. It's overriding, and then maybe that's what it's doing. There's lots of theories. I guess, anything I say today may change tomorrow. So don't quote me solid on this, but yeah, maybe we're just, a lot of that and a lot of my shamanic training and working with my shamanic tribe. We talk about that. It's like overcoming limiting beliefs, and it's like every time a belief arises, you got to stop and take a look at that and go, is this mine? Do I really believe this? And then, it's up to you to figure out how you want to release it.
Have there been any limiting beliefs that seem to really kind of present themselves across the board with many people that are presenting in very similar ways?
Yeah, I get a lot of people who seem to think, unfortunately, a lot of women who seem to feel that their lives lack value unless they're hooked up to a significant other.
Interesting.
Like they're less than because they didn't get married or stay married. I get people, like I said, it's about self-love, it's like, or they don't feel they can love themselves until someone else loves them. And it all comes back to love.
Really? So a lot of women feel that without a partner or being in relationship, they have less value on this planet?
Well, I get I'm in the Midwest and, like I said, I sometimes feel like, I don't want to say things are antiquated, but there's just a lot of belief systems. And, these are, sometimes it's women who are, older than me. I'm not talking about younger people, but, adults. And they just, like I said, that it's really like the programming. It's we got to look a certain way and weigh a certain amount and be a certain thing and do. So it all looks good, and maybe it's not that important how it looks.
I can totally see that in the Midwest, especially with family
and like I said,
marriage.
I don't want to say it's antiquated, but yeah, it is. It's still a thing here, and it's like there's a certain value put on it. And, I just feel like, and I don't have any problem with those things. And if people are happy, then that's great. But you also shouldn't live a life that's making you miserable just because somebody else said so.
I mean, I have 6 sisters and I'm the youngest. And I remember when, I don't know if I had already gotten married but one of my sisters and my brother weren't married yet. And it was just, and one of our cousins. And it was just like the talk of the family all the time. Like, when are they going to get married? It's just such an expectation. And then, once you get married, it's, when are you going to have a baby? And we just go through these things, or even college, even, you know, education. Like, oh, so where are you going to college? What are you going to do? It's just like our lives are already planned out for us. And then we have to wake up and realize that that wasn't our life that we were living.
Wasn't the plan.
Well, you know, it's funny because my family looks at me the exact same way because I've never been married and I'm now 41. And I remember having a conversation with one of my sisters, and she was just looking at me like, she's just like, I just want to know you're happy. Like, I just, like, as in, like, she wants me to, she wanted me to find someone so that she knew I was happy. And I'm like, can we just like stop on that thought for a second? Like, let's think about that. Like, you're worried about my happiness being tied into being with someone, that you'll feel comfortable that I'm happy when I love my life. I've always loved my life. I've lived my life for me. That's actually something that I'm just so grateful for, that I've always chosen the less traveled path, I guess, by what most people would be doing in society. And my family like would not always understand it. And for some reason thinks that I'm unhappy because I'm not with someone, or maybe it's just their own projection that they're not happy I'm not with someone. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are they with someone, and are they happy?
Well, this is the thing.
Well, and I feel that because, you know, and I said all of this stuff, all this amazing stuff that I do aside, and all these far out, like fifth dimensional experiences I've had, and when I'm doing my work, and the most amazing thing throughout all of this that I've discovered is that I just turned 40 this year, and I love me. I'm awesome, and I'm owning it, and I don't care what anybody else thinks anymore. And that's really super empowering. You know, that in itself is worth all of this healing work that I've done, because I really like and accept this person. I don't want to diet her away or drink her away anymore. I just want to be me, and I want to show other people how to be them and enjoy and love themselves too. And it doesn't matter, you know, as long as you're not hurting anyone or, you know, anything, just be yourself and love who you are. Like that in itself is an amazing thing.
Yeah. Like, I just sometimes, you know, my parents are funny. Like, I love them and I know they love me, and it's a running joke in our family. But, you know, at first it was like, Nicole, just, you know, you're too picky, or, you know, when are you going to find someone? And then it was like, okay, Nicole, don't worry about getting married. Just give us a grandbaby. Like, just get pregnant. And, you know, and I'm like, well, I'm not even dating anyone. Like, what are you saying? Like, you just want me to go out on the street and find some random and like get pregnant? You know, and they're like, well, you know, we'll help you take care of it. And I'm like, what? I go, this is not how I want, like, no. It's just so funny though, like how ingrained these ideas of happiness look like.
Yeah, it's expectations, and there are other people's expectations. There are a lot of them. It's like you say, it's belief systems and expectations. And it's like, you have to stop and look at them and say, is this mine? Am I okay with this? And if not, then change it, because, you know, you're free to do so. And I think that that's maybe the most important thing about this work that I do. And, you know, quantum healing hypnosis, it helps people to get to that place. And it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it is.
I think that's really the first step, is just peeling back the layers.
Yeah, it is. And everything, you know, everything happens in layers. I know I've listened to a couple of people recently say that sort of stuff. And yeah, this gets to those levels and layers. And I think, you know, and some people have lots of layers they have to go through, and some people not so many, you know, and it's all an individual process.
You know what else has layers? Parfait.
An onion?
Who you ever meet says, hey, you want to get some parfait? They say, no, I don't like no parfait. Everybody loves parfait.
That'll do, Donkey. That'll do. That'll do, Donkey. That'll do. Shrek, very nice. I too have children.
That has nothing to do with children. For Brian.
No, it's the Shrek movie though. That's
I know,
from Shrek.
but he just likes Shrek, so there's that.
Oh, well, I do too. See, but I just use the kids as a clever cover up for watching Disney and Pixar movies.
Yeah. I don't think your daughter got you to watch Shrek, I'm guessing. Had nothing.
No, I probably bought her the copy of Shrek.
Yeah, it was a great movie. Shrek was a really good one.
And it does. Parfait does have layers, just like life.
It does have layers. It does. Yeah. So onions have layers too.
I think a lot what I have really figured out the past couple of years is the missing piece for me for so long, and not understanding that this life is, that we create it and it's like a dream and we have all this power, and and I just couldn't ever really fully wrap my head around that until I started peeling back the layers of this world. I think is where it all started to come together for me, like understanding truly what is being told to us that is reality, that isn't necessarily reality. And once you can start peeling back the layers on that side as well as your own, I think is when, at least for me, when it really all started to come together.
Yeah. Well, and Nicole, I think you said something. You asked me, I think we kind of got off the track about this, but like about it being a magic pill, like any of this stuff, any of the spirituality, it's not a magic pill. There, you do have to do the work, and you do have to come to these realizations in order to make it happen. Because it would be easy just to say, come to me and I'll hypnotize you and then everything will be better. Ta-da. No. Sometimes people come to me and they find out they have stuff that they need to do before they can be all better. And, that's an important thing. It's always the message I always got was Spirit says, do the work. And what your work is different than my work, but it's whatever you have to do, and it's about your own personal process. And then it's, in the process of letting go of those limiting beliefs and expectations.
There's no like fast track, like instantaneous fast track. I'm talking way to, move through the shit that all of us have to move through to kind of deprogram, just declutter from our belief system, our minds, and how we live our lives. Because, part of it is that we're habitual. So creating good habits takes a bit of time. It's not like you just do one thing and then it's all better forever. Like you want to, how we get programmed is through repetition. And so how we change things is also through repetition in many ways. And it's not that you can't have an instantaneous moment of healing or anything like that, but to create real change that lasts and builds upon itself, you have to constantly be unearthing and doing more work. As you said, we go through the layers. There's always a new layer to move through. It's never ending because whatever we don't do in this lifetime will likely be uncovered in another lifetime. And that's just because there's just so much to discover, and new things are always being created. So when I think about my own journey, there's a lot of, I spent a lot of time doing a lot of reflective work, deep work, going through a lot of different emotions. And then you have moments where you don't feel like you are, like everything's good, life's good, and I'm happy, and I'm creating better relationships, and work's looking better, and like all life, and then bam, like something new hits you, and it's like, oh my God, you just fall back into this like dark hole that you didn't think that you'd ever go back into. And it's not that it's the same hole, it's a whole new area that needs to be explored and looked at in deeper ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's the simplest of things that we have to look at.
Yeah. Well, and I had that realization when I took my training too. It's like when my first couple days of my hypnosis training, I was like, well, what have I been doing with all this shaman stuff? If I could just come here and just have done this first. And then when I got into it more, I realized that, I had to get to that point. I had to do the shamanic work. I had to, jumpstart. I had to get on that healing journey. And with the shamanic work too, something I wanted to make sure I let you guys added about that today. For me, the shamanic work, when you talk about your lower chakras, like your solar plexus, your sacral area, and your root chakra, those are kind of your earth stuff. And for me, the shamanism really gets you right with your earth stuff. And a lot of times I hear people talk about like, I don't belong here, or I'm just waiting for them to come pick me up so I can go home, but the truth is we all incarnated here for a reason. You're human and you're here. So you might as well get right with that notion because they're not coming to pick us up. And so like, that's the work, to get you grounded into your reality. And once you're grounded into your reality, then, like I said, all this woo-woo stuff appears great, but if you're not grounded in your reality, it's really doesn't do a whole lot. I mean, it's fun, but you need to be firmly here on earth as well.
Absolutely. Because it just kind of takes you into that whole idea of taking you out of your now, in that, you're not currently in the galactics for a reason. You're down here on earth to, like you said, like do your work. And every time we kind of think about, well, when do I get to meet my star family, or when do I get to move to this part of ascension, or when do I, all these questions that a lot of people have as they start to explore this area, they forget about like just the enjoyment of being here on earth, because there is a lot of enjoyment. And when you can find that enjoyment, you don't feel the need to constantly be seeking outside of your here and now.
Yeah. Well, we are beings of free will. And from what I understand is whether that place that we come here from is not that way. And that's why we come back, is to experience this and to have the right to choose. And I know what I'm choosing now.
As wild, wild west as earth is, and as hard as it can sometimes be, it's actually a true gift to be here on earth. When we had John Mathis on, and he talked about how like there are people who are literally lining up to get back down to earth and like jump back into this planet to do more work, or that it's when you get here, you forget about all of the great reasons of why you're here, and
we forget
that we got the golden ticket.
Yeah. Right? If you're here on earth,
who was one of your other guests? That Cassell Ouch.
Oh yes.
And him and him making the device out of a bowl, and I always feel like you are the device, you are the channel, we are the sacred device, and that's what we're here to remember, is that we're divine, and who knows what you can do with that once you figure that out. Mm-hmm. I think that we're just starting to see what that realization.
I'm glad you guys finally caught up with my line of thinking. I've been trying to teach you guys this for a long time to enjoy your 3D, and it's all like, oh, I gotta be 40, I gotta be 5D, I gotta be 12D.
We have never said that. That is your projection.
I've never said 12D ever.
Yeah,
12D is like formless, and there's nothing like going on up there.
Where did you get 12D?
I was making fun of 5D.
So funny. I think like your higher self just snuck in there for a second.
What is it? It's not a Freudian slip. There's got to be another name for it.
I didn't slip. I said that on purpose to make fun of believing in 5D.
Well, see, I believe that it's already happening. We talk about the event, and I think that the event is ongoing, and you can vibrate in whatever existence you want to.
I would believe that the event is happening for everyone at different times.
Yeah, the event is ongoing. I believe that the planet has done things, like I believe that in 2012 that the planet has moved into a different dimension, and that where a lot of us are just catching up. And, will there be a light-filled anomaly in the sky when we get to a certain point? Maybe. I don't know, but I can't stand around waiting for that. I'm going to live my life.
I still have trouble understanding that the Earth going through this portal in 2012, and now we're coming back around to join that. I still really have trouble wrapping my head around what that means.
Or like Dolores Cannon talked about it as like two Earths. It's like we're separating the old Earth from the new Earth. And if you would think of it as like a Vesica Pisces, where the two circles overlap, it's like we're the area where we've been in like since 2012, 2011, 2012 is kind of that spot in the middle of the Vesica Pisces as the Earths are separating. But I personally feel like new Earth is here now, and you can live on it. whatever you want to. It's about, it's a place that starts in your heart.
I feel like it's kind of like timelines, like you can jump into a new timeline that has new experiences and new ways of seeing things if you shift your frequency to match that timeline. And so that's how I understand it, that, Earth had its own timeline frequency, and it doesn't mean that the one that we're on isn't necessarily here. Obviously it's here, but how we're experiencing it is dependent on our frequency.
Yeah, I agree with that. Since 2011, like I said, I had this kind of crazy awakening experience. I had like a dream with a blue flash off the sun and stuff. But ever since then, the message I got from my higher self, inner self, whatever you want to call it, my intuition was hold the highest vibration possible. That it's all about, it sounds so Tesla when I say it, it's like, it's all about frequency and vibration, and that our intention has so much connection to that. If you intend to hold the highest vibration possible, then you will. And, what you experience therein is well, it's your experience.
I remind myself that some days, like, all I have to do today is be happy. Just like, I'm like,
just love yourself.
Just every minute. I just have to keep bringing joy to every moment of this day, and it will be a perfect day.
Yeah. Right. And it's love. It's about love. I think that's the ultimate thing. It's like, be your own self-love guru, I guess.
Yeah.
And even love the stuff that doesn't seem lovable, because that's important too.
Or just
and I want to just
go ahead, Nicole.
Sorry, go ahead, Lisa. Well, I wanted to circle back to Brian and his statement on how, like, he thinks that we don't enjoy our lives here in 3D.
I don't.
That is such a false statement. I love my life here in 3D.
But you're clamoring to get to 4 and 5D. That's my point. I've made it in a couple of episodes. It's like, I just enjoy I'm not worried about 4 and 5D. If something happens, I'll enjoy that when that happens. But I'm not going to worry and fret about this thing. And it's like, oh, I've got to raise my vibration and I have to do all these things. I'm here.
No, I understand. But 4D and 5D are not a place. It's not like it's about choosing to vibrate at a higher frequency of wanting to live my life through more love and project more love into my entire life, more joy. And that actually is enjoying. When you do that, you get to enjoy your life even more here and now.
Sounds like it's all about perspective, really.
It totally is. It totally is.
And Brian's really good at being in the now, though. General.
Okay, so but I understand where Brian's coming from, though. Is he's thinking 3-dimensionally.
Yeah.
So from a 3-dimensional thought process, 5D is 2 steps up from 3D, and I see that. And some of the things I hear is that 5D we have light bodies. So if you really like food and stuff, you ought to eat it now while you can, just in case when we get there we don't have to eat anymore. But does that mean and then even this might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm still a meat eater. I'm not a vegetarian. It's like, can I not hold a 5th dimensional vibration if I eat meat here in the 3rd dimension? Well, I think that's awfully freaking limiting. So, I can still go out and enjoy myself from a 3-dimensional standpoint, or, I don't have to be a nun.
I agree. I am of the mindset that if I want to eat it or I want to drink it because it gives me pleasure and I enjoy it, then I totally want to. And this idea of breatharianism and all of that, like just living off of the breath and light, it's not that I don't think that exists. And it's not that I don't think that people can do that. But for now, for me, I'm like, I'm here on Earth. I chose to drink wine. And I know that my cosmic star family is not drinking wine right now. So I get to do something that they're not doing.
Yes, and oftentimes I ask them to enjoy it along with me. Yeah.
It's like when Nemo told Brian, he's like, they can't have the beer or the bacon with Brian, but they can have his frequency. There's something to being able to actually experience it and live it out here.
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm one of the first incarnations of my spiritual work. I called myself Divine Elissa, and it's like, we're divine beings expressing ourselves as humans. It's almost a disservice to our higher selves to not enjoy being human.
Yeah.
But then can we enjoy being human even, but then as you start to incorporate this higher vibration, can we make being human even better? Even more interesting and curious? That's where I feel like we're really going with this.
Well, I think as far as meat eating or wine drinking or anything like that, if you're saying that you can't have those things in order to live a more awakened life, then you're just, again, putting another belief. You're just shackling yourself again with something else that this world is always throwing at us. These coulds and shoulds and you have to's. And we have to just get rid of all of that. It's about the energy that we bring to it. If you believe that something is bad for you, then it is, because you're bringing that type of energy with you.
Yeah, that's why when Lisa's like, yeah, I try not to eat the carbs, and I'm like, give me the carbs. I want the carbs. I love the carbs.
I've never heard my wife say that.
Hey,
Lisa hardly eats carbs. What are you talking about?
I don't eat carbs when I don't exercise.
She drinks carbs, though.
Yeah, she does drink carbs. That's true.
It's because since I hurt my back, I haven't been able to run, and I used to eat lots of carbs, but I was always running. So
yeah,
I just want to fit in my jeans. I don't want to buy new clothes. That's all.
And I look back on my process, and things have changed for me. And that's I still eat meat, and I still like to have a few drinks, but when I look back, I've changed. It's still vastly different from the beginning of my journey. Even though I haven't been consciously do it, things have altered and things have changed, and I do eat lighter, but I still take myself out and enjoy myself. And that's a lot of what this spiritual work is about. And I'd say the one takeaway from my first session that I ever had personally, my first quantum healing session, was that I'm limitless, and that we're all limitless. We're really without bounds, and we get confused because it feels like this human body is limited, but it's that realization that, we're limitless. And, so like you say, so yeah, have the carbs, everything in moderation, including moderation.
Yeah. I had this channeling session with the Wonders, who are this group of entities residing in the 29th dimension. And they had channeled a book through the guy who they only channel through. And the book was called The 6 Defining Statements of Existence. And one of them is, I am limitless. And I just feel like that's such a strong statement. There is another one that is, I am sufficient, which is, I feel stronger than people saying I am enough. Because there's something about the word enough that still feels lack to me.
I am a valley of the universe. Everything flows to me.
Yeah. So, well, this has been great. Thank you so much, Elissa, for coming on the show and sharing your information. Yes. And thanks for being a listener too.
Yes, awesome. It was a treat. I found you guys on my podcast on my phone this summer. So yeah, you guys traveled a lot with me this summer. So it's been a real treat to finally get to speak to you.
I'm glad we could keep you company.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And if any of our listeners would like to connect with you and learn more about QHHT, how can they get in touch with you?
I have a website. It's New Human Healing Art. I'm sorry. It's New Human Healing, NUHUEMAN Healing, newhumanhealing.com. And I'm also on Facebook, and I have a couple of pages there.
Great. So I'll leave all that information for our listeners. So if you would like to get in touch with Elissa, you can. And to all of you, thanks again for joining us this week. We're always happy to have you with us week in and week out. And we will be back with you soon. If you guys have any questions you want to ask us, send them into our email, info@enlightenup.us. And don't forget to check out all our social media. Lisa is doing a fabulous job with our social media. Thank you so much, Lisa. You rock. And that's it. So thanks again, everyone. We'll be back with you next time.
Bye.
Bye.